Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Profitable Coaching Conversation Show with WendyY Bailey. I am indeed WendyY Bailey, and I want to welcome you to this weekday show. I come live on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook 5 days a week at 6 p.m. Eastern. For the next 3 or 4 weeks, you're going to get me entirely live. I do have some guests that are coming up in the future, but I'm excited to be here with you today. The whole notion around the Profitable Coaching Conversation Show is to bring you content, is to bring you guests who can actually add value to what I call the ecosystem of sales and marketing. So you may get something around, selling and techniques. You may get something around marketing and your messaging. You may also get some content around how to grow and scale your coaching business. I'm a 20 plus year veteran master business and sales coach, and I work with six-figure coaches to show them how to grow and scale their coaching businesses. I also serve, and this is a new role, a new service I've added, as a fractional chief operating officer for seven-figure businesses. I help them identify their repeatable processes, plug in the right systems, and do the things that make operations seamless for the CEO so that they can go out and be the figurehead, the front runner, the face of their business and grow and scale from that perspective. So today is really in the bucket of selling or sales. And sales can be kind of scary for us as coaches because, we're trained really, really well to coach people, but we're not trained on how to sell people. And so I want to talk a little bit about selling, and I want to get into what you do when the no's hurt, what to do when the no's hurt. Yeah. If you can imagine being in business for more than 20 years, I've heard a lot of no's. I've heard a lot of no's. And I got to tell you, sometimes they still bother me, even though I'm going to share something with you today that I hope will help you. The no's still hit hard sometimes for me. But, if you're watching me somewhere, just make sure you give StreamYard permission on Facebook to say hi to me so that I can see your name. If you're watching me on LinkedIn, be sure that you leave a comment or you love the post. If you are catching me on YouTube, be sure that you comment to say I was here. And of course, if you have any questions, I'm going to go through each platform to make sure I answer your questions and, tag you so that you get the answer directly. Let's talk about the no's. Most people, when they approach selling, it ends up being something scary anyway. So hearing a no is even more challenging, right? Because you're already a little uncomfortable with this whole selling and sales process. Well, let me say this. There's and I didn't coin the phrase, but it goes marketing gets you known and sales gets you paid. If you really want to sell more, you've got to get comfortable with what selling looks like. And very simply, selling is extending an invitation for someone to work with you, right? When you're extending an invitation to someone, for someone to work with you, what happens is you're also in the space where what you're offering them is going to benefit them. So it's not like you're pushing or you're being sleazy or you're trying to be salesy or slimy. You know that what you offer is going to be a benefit. I've talked about my son on past episodes, and I'll tell you that he's a certified life coach as well. And one of the things that I've seen him do, I've observed him do when he's at work. He works he's a regional manager now, but he used to work in a small store, retail store. And so when people would come in, I could see him put his coaching into action. He put it to good use. He would say, what brought you in today? He would find out what the problem was. Based on finding out what the problem was, they talked about it. He talked about the possible solutions. He shared his expertise, and he knew what they needed based on his expertise and knowledge of what was going on with the person. We do the same thing as coaches. We want to understand the problem our ideal clients are facing. And when we understand that problem, we know if we have a solution that matches them. And we know if we do not have a solution that can remedy their problem, right? The beauty of selling means that you understand that you're talking to your ideal client. You understand what her problem is or his problem is very well. And you know you've created a solution that can help that ideal client and other ideal clients that are dealing with that same problem. Okay. That's really digital marketing. It's marketing 101. It's what you need to understand when it comes to selling. So, what happens when you get the no's? What happens when you get the no's is for you, fear is surfacing. For the client, sometimes fear is surfacing, and the no or the objection is a fear in disguise, right? So when you understand it's a fear in disguise, you step into coaching. It's what you were trained to do, it's what you were born to do. And based on that, you need to get curious. You need to ask questions so that you can confirm your understanding of the client's problem. And also, you can match the solution that you offer to that. If you can imagine more than 20 years in coaching, I've learned a lot about the problems. And so I've created a lot of content. But you don't have to create a lot of content to be able to offer up a solution to your most ideal client. But let me say this before I get into this conversation about the no's and fear. Zig Ziglar, who was huge salesperson, huge thought leader, he said a lot of things, and one of the things he said is sales objections fall into five categories. Five, okay, five. Disbelief in I'm sorry, I'm starting off wrong. Lack of time, lack of need, lack of money. I'm going to say something about lack of money in just a minute. Disbelief in you and disbelief in your ability to solve the problem. When your clients show up and they say no to you, they're saying, I don't know that I have the time right now to do this. I don't know that I really need this at this point. But that's why you ask the question about the problem and you get clarity about what the problem is to the ideal client, right? They say, I don't know that I need this right now. I don't know. And they won't tell you, I don't believe in you and I don't believe in your ability to solve my problem. What they will say is, I don't think this is something I can do right now. They tell you no, right? Without a lot of clarity. So part of your addressing them around their fear, and you don't have to pounce, but just get curious about what's really going on. Because let me tell you, how many times have you coached someone and you knew that you had the opportunity to serve and support them. You knew you had the right solution. They told you no. And then the next thing you knew, they had signed up to work with a different coach. Well, let me tell you the secret sauce around those five objections is value, right? It's value. Value is what people are looking for. Value is how they know you can solve the problem. Value is how they know you are the person for them, that there's chemistry, that there's a connection. Value is the secret sauce for that. Value is what they need. And you have to create a sense of urgency around need and time. And when they understand the sense of urgency that you're offering them, that they know that they're going to be better because of working with you. They're going to get their problem solved because of working with you. Their pain is going to go away because of working with you. Then you get to really be their coach and step into that. But you've got to paint that picture for folks, right? And then the whole lack of money. I see people all the time, I promise you, who will talk to a coach and say, oh, I don't have the money. I don't have the money. And then they go to someone else and spend far more money than they would have spent with that coach. I promise you, it's never about the money. Unless they're in what I call survival mode. That means that they're, juggling to pay bills, they're trying to figure it out. And if they're not honest with you about being in that survival mode, you can't help them, you can't address them. One of the things that I say to my clients as a sales coach is potential clients, I say to them, remember that we're going to focus on generating income quickly. Is that something you want to do? So I'm already addressing the potential objection of, I don't have the money, right? But I don't have the money is about value. And I've been there, where people have told me I don't have the money, and then I see them enroll in some really much more expensive program. And it's okay, because what I want to tell you as I get more into the no's and when the no's hurt, that person just was not meant to work with you, and you were not meant to be that person's coach. And it's okay. There have been so many times when I've been hurt, I've been told no. And then I realized after they said no and they went to someone else that I really dodged a bullet. Like it was for my benefit that they went someone else, because I wasn't going to serve them in that same way that they wanted this other coach to serve them in. It was going to be different. But what I want you to understand is no is not a personal assault. No is not a personal attack. It's the no is not saying I disapprove of you personally. It's I don't know that I believe in what you can do to serve and support me. That's what no really means. So let me talk a little bit about no, because what happens when you hear no, the more you hear no, the more likely you are to hear yes. So you've got to go through some no's, a lot of no's sometimes to get to this really amazing yes. And it's okay for you to go through the no's and get to a really amazing yes. But it can be emotional, it can be painful. So let me tell you what the no's really, really mean. It's getting you groomed so that you can step up to the yes in a much more powerful way. When you face a no, it feels like rejection. And what I want you to know is you've got to go through what I call rejection therapy. I didn't coin the phrase, but you've got to go through rejection therapy so that you can build that muscle so that you're not, it doesn't feel as painful for you to hear the no and you can keep moving. The first thing I want to say is, the no's can be based on fear. I said that earlier, but let me drive it home. When you are faced with fear, you've got to find a way to practice rejection therapy. First thing you've got to do is you've got to tell yourself, you've got to tell yourself that fear is a liar. Fear is a liar. Fear is a liar. Yeah, it's not true. It's false evidence appearing real is an acronym I've heard. It's also face everything and rise. So you've got to look at your definition of fear. And if it's the false evidence appearing real, then fear is a liar. Fear will try to convince you that no one wants to hire you as a coach. It will also tell you that the no means that you are not enough. And if you're feeling that sense of you are not enough, it's an opportunity for you to dig into that deeper with your own coach, to dig into that deeper if you have a therapist on your success team, is to dig into that, to remember that that is not the case. And I will tell you, these days, I still, more than 20 years later, will bring up something in my therapy sessions that is speaking to me not feeling enough. Right? We all do it. I remember when Oprah still did her daily talk show. She said after, when she was getting ready to retire, she said that almost everyone, it didn't matter if they were a politician or a celebrity, if they were, billionaires, millionaires, whatever they were, once the interview was over, they would always turn to her and say, was that okay? Was that okay? Because no matter what's happening in our lives, we still battle. It's clear, all of us, it's part of humanity with, am I enough or am I not enough? Right? And it sneaks in and it pops up in different places and spaces in our lives. But fear is a liar. Okay. It's not, it's not about you, right? The no is not always about you. Your ideal clients are always ready to hear from them, especially when you have something that will support them. And here's what I want to say about that. You've got to remember that you're not building your content or your coaching in a vacuum. It is not your job to just go create something and say, oh, this is what I created. Everybody's going to jump on it and love it. You've got to make sure that what you're creating in your coaching programs, in your practices, if you're creating something, it has to address a specific audience and a specific problem your audience is facing. When you do that, it's not in a vacuum. You're building something, you're creating and designing something that people will really need, the right people will really need, and approach you and connect with you to get from you, right? To enroll in your program, to enroll in your coaching. So you've got to know that you're building something and designing something that will clearly support your most ideal clients. The no you hear does not mean you are not enough. Those feelings are related to an event that has happened in your past. And, you've got to unpack the baggage. You've got to take note of the information the no gives you and keep it moving. Take note of the information and then keep it moving. One of the things I learned when I was studying for my NLP certification was, the emotions are what tend to be what overwhelms us. But if we can face the emotion, but look at, so almost set it aside, but look at what has caused the emotion, then we can learn lessons from that. We can gain knowledge from that, and then we can move forward. And that's almost what emotional intelligence is really telling us. Emotional intelligence says that you understand that you have emotions, but you've learned a way to manage them intelligently, right? That's why the term emotional intelligence. When you have emotions, and we're human, so we're always going to have emotions, even if in behind closed doors in the corner of your room you are crying about stuff or upset about stuff, it's okay for you to do that. Just get through the emotion and ask yourself questions that will help you learn the lessons from what the no has taught you. Recently, I had an opportunity, and I see people are starting to pop on. If you're catching the replay, be sure that you let me know that you're catching the replay. If you're here, be sure to say hello and let me know in the comments that you are here. So, recently I had a situation where I had been talking with someone, and I had been talking to them, not formally, but I'd had enough conversations that I thought they were ready to move forward to become a client. And as I talked to them, they started telling me that they were really, trying to figure it out financially and all this kind of stuff. And I said, well, here are some ways that I can support you. And I didn't change my prices. What I did is I tried to make an opportunity for them to connect with me based on what I thought they could afford at that time. And I'm going to tell you the story, and then I'm going to tell you why that's not a good idea. Always, it's not always a good idea. So I reached out to them as part of my coaching follow up, my outbound sales outreach calls. And, they didn't return my calls. And I was like, okay, I don't know what's going on. But then I happened to see that they joined another program that was really a much more expensive program that I was offering, with all the different offers that I had extended to the person. And what I said to myself was, okay, what's the lesson to learn? Because it hurt, because I thought, wow, this person's been telling me they didn't have the money to invest in, the different things that I told. I said, I started out at, you can do a VIP day, and, I'm running a holiday special. And because I'm running a holiday special, you can enroll in the VIP day for X number of dollars, right? And then they said, oh, well, I don't know that I can do that. That's a little out of my budget. And I said, okay, so let's start with a session. We'll do a 60-minute session for X number of dollars. And I said, okay, well, rather than that 60-minute session, if you're able to, I created the sense of urgency, do this before the end of the year, then I will extend the session to 90 minutes. Okay, just to get you started with some kind of coaching. Now, let me make sure you understand too that I had also sent them content, given them access to content, freebies, things that I thought would benefit them in the moment. Then the last thing I said was, because you seem to be struggling with the thought of doing this 90-minute session for X number of dollars, let's go to monthly. I offer a monthly membership that you can participate in, and it's X number of dollars. Now, understand that when I did the VIP day, it started here. Then from the VIP day, it went down to here. And then for the monthly, it went down to here in terms of the cost. And I was like, okay, well, let me know. And they were like, oh yeah, well, you've given me a lot of information. I really appreciate you, and I want to work with you. And I got to work some things out. I'll be back in touch. And I said, okay. So I gave them the timeline that they told me and a little bit more, and I got back in touch. And they didn't respond to me. So a couple of days later, I saw where they had joined a really expensive program, right? And I thought, wow, this is the same person who said they couldn't afford it. Well, I'm human, so that no hit me a little bit hard. And what I realized was that, first of all, like I said before, what's for me is for me, just like what's for you is for you. And maybe it was for them to work with this other coach, and that's okay, right? Maybe that was the right thing. maybe it was right that you were not their coach in that moment. And I accepted that. So, what are the lessons for me? People can pay for what they really want and need. People will invest in value when they recognize the value. That person actually called me and was kind of like, let me tell you why I did this. And, I listened, but the reality was they saw more value in that other coach's program than they saw in mine. So that was a lesson that I learned that said, you've got to be clear about the kind of value that you offer. You've got to communicate it much more effectively than you've been doing. The other thing I thought was, after working with the person and talking with them, when I was honest with myself, I knew they were not my ideal client. Right. When I looked at the particulars of my ideal client and the profile that I've created for my ideal client, I wasn't able to check the boxes because they didn't fit the boxes, right? I just knew they needed help and I was going to be there to help them. Yes, 20 plus years later, I still do that. And I always learn, look, work with your own ideal clients only. Focus on serving your ideal clients only, because guess what? And this is a WendyY quote. Your ideal client is always, always, always ready, willing, and able to invest in themselves by hiring you. Your ideal client is always, 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 write it down, ready, willing, and able to invest in themselves by hiring you. Well, Wendy, why? What if they're my ideal client in every way except for financially? They're not your ideal client yet. Okay. So you can direct them to free content, but they don't get access to you. They don't get access to your premium coaching. They don't get access to, things that other people pay for. They don't get access to that, right? They get access to content that you can give them that gives them an insight. They get access to your mailing list where you can continually nurture the relationship until they are ready. But your ideal client is always ready, willing, and able to invest in themselves by hiring you. Okay. I know that's a hard one to think about, but I want you to write it down, circle the always, circle the ideal, highlight, underline, whatever you need to, so that you get that in your thinking. Okay. The second thing I want to tell you about fear has limits. Fear has limits. And what I mean by that, one of my digital mentors, you've heard me talk about him before, is Robin Sharma. He says the fears we don't face become our limits. The fears we don't face become our limits. Now, I'm just happy to know that fears actually have limits, because with limits, you are more than confident to challenge them. Okay. When you know fear has limits, you can challenge those limits. And the thing about it is, you can overcome those limits, right? I imagine I'm on track and fear is a hurdle, on a track and fear is a hurdle. And I'm preparing to leap over the next one and the next to reach the finish line. So tell yourself, if you're running this track and you're facing hurdles, and those hurdles, the no's are the hurdles, that you can tell yourself, I'm really great at moving through the no's and getting the lessons from that, right? Tell yourself that, yeah, here's a hurdle that's coming up. Or, I wasn't anticipating that hurdle, but I jumped it. I did it really well. I'm a great hurdler, and I'm just going to keep moving forward to address any other hurdles that come my way before I actually, get to a yes. Okay. So that's the second thing. Fear has limits, and you've got to reframe how you see fear and the limits it creates for you, so that you are constantly in the mode of overcoming limits in your sales. Okay. Limits in your coaching business, limits in how you invite clients to work with you. And then the third thing I want to tell you about rejection, and these are really key tenets around rejection therapy. The third thing is, you've got to remember that you are braver and stronger than any rejection you may feel. Let me slow down and say that again. You are braver and stronger than any rejection you may feel. If you're encountering rejection, that means you got to make more calls. If you're encountering rejection, you've got to be more courageous. If you are encountering rejection, it means that you're becoming more courageous. If you're encountering what feels like rejection, then there is such a positive in it for you, because you know it's moving you closer to the yes ever than before. With every no, tell yourself you haven't gotten to yes until now. And let until now, those words, write them down, until now, fuels your courage in anticipation of the yes. And then you can tell yourself, I'm ready for the yes. I'm ready for the yes. I'm ready for the yes. Yeah. That's the beauty of rejection therapy. Now, it sounds like something, woo woo, but I want to make sure you understand that if you're in coaching, if you've gotten to six figures already, you've been blessed to get to six figures. But you know what got you to six figures won't get you to multiple six figures or seven figures. That means you've got to do something different. You've got to engage with someone different. And I want to extend an opportunity to you guys to join me for my masterclass. It's the Coach Elevation Blueprint. It's all about how to grow and scale your coaching business. It's for six and seven figure coaches who want to grow and scale. There's a lot of nuts and bolts kind of content in it, and the masterclass is entirely complimentary. So I want to invite you to participate in the masterclass. Go to elevatewithwendyy.com and you'll see what you need there. The thing that I love about rejection therapy and moving beyond the hurt of a no is there's so much growth that happens for you when you understand fear, when you understand how it's growing you, how it's helping you to become more courageous and preparing you, almost grooming you for the yes, right? So thanks so much for being here. Be sure to let me know if you have questions. I'll come back and check to see if there are questions, and I'll respond to those questions. Thanks for tuning in. Tomorrow, I'll be here live tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Eastern, and I'm going to be talking about how to grow from rookie to guru in your coaching business quickly. So there's a strategy I'm going to give you that's going to help you make the shift from rookie to guru. So if you're new in your coaching business, or you feel like you're still learning and growing a lot in your coaching business, I'm going to give you a strategy that's going to help you make that shift more quickly than just going through the paces, organically. So hopefully it'll help you. So I'll see you guys tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern on all of these platforms: YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. I'm on my LinkedIn profile. My Facebook profile, my Facebook page, two of my Facebook groups. I'm on two YouTube channels, and I'm also on LinkedIn. So thanks for tuning in, and I will see you tomorrow for another episode of the Profitable Coaching Conversation Show. If you haven't already, join my private Facebook community at profitablecoachingsociety.com, and I'll see you there. Take care, everybody. Bye.